Okay, another beautiful Sunday is here, day number 22 in the month of February 2026. Good evening, folks, and welcome to Iron Port here on Metropolitan Television. Iron Port is proudly brought to you by the Ghana Revenue Authority, Gwell PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, MPS, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. The show is proudly powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA, and our media partner on this journey of a lifetime is the Business and Financial Times, the BNFT. Now, if you want to have a grasp of all that transpired on the show tonight, make a date and grab the Thursday edition of the BNFT, and you'll be able to read all that happened here on the show. Tonight, we are going to be streaming live on our social media pages. On Facebook, we're live at Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Still on Facebook, we are live at Port of Tema. And on YouTube, we are streaming live at Iron Port. Iron Port. Now, we shall be getting interactive with you as usual. So all you have to do is sit back, relax, grab your phones, and send us your messages and comments ahead via our dedicated WhatsApp line, which is 0538-037353. 0538-037353. And when the time is ripe, and I pick signals from the production team, we shall activate the phone line for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. My name is Kennedy Mona. We are going for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue the show. Please stay with us.
Good energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP. Available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP, Wufilia, huh? Wubefi. Goil, good energy. Yeah, yeah.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water. Or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Welcome to today's edition of Serene Insurance Business News. We present to you Serena.
You're right. You can complete an entire insurance process for the purchase of any motor and other insurance products, from onboarding to issuing a motor insurance sticker and policy certificate, all on WhatsApp in less than 10 minutes. Serena is simple to use and it prioritizes user ease and flexibility. You can either use voice notes or text to effortlessly issue your instant policy, cross-platform renewals, claims, and also process your payments through mobile money, Visa, and MasterCard. To engage Serena, just search for Serena Insurance on all social media handles and scan the Serena barcode or save her number 0500 517 114 and start chatting her on WhatsApp immediately.
There you have it. Serena is not just a tool. It's an innovation by Serene Insurance designed to redefine how motor and travel insurance are accessed and managed. Speed, convenience, and reliability.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating great opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Phoenix Insurance, we make the unpredictable predictable and the uncertain certain with our range of products, including motor insurance, fire insurance, engineering insurance, marine insurance, accident insurances, and all types of bonds. We have you covered. We also support you with risk management advice to enable you to stay focused on your business. Take a policy with Phoenix Insurance today. We help you rise from adversity stronger and more secure. Contact us on 0302 246319 or 0302 246644 or any of our branches, agencies, and brokers spread across the nation. You can as well connect with us on our WhatsApp chatbot. Efiba is waiting to assist you. Make the future predictable with Phoenix Insurance. Phoenix Insurance, a delightful service experience delivered with wisdom.
All right, welcome back. It's now time for us to take a look at the happenings in the port and shipping industry over the last week by way of local stories. Please enjoy.
Stakeholders in Ghana's fisheries sector have convened in Accra for a high-level workshop aimed at improving vessel safety, fisher welfare, and emergency response systems. The Ocean Center's Ghana workshop, held at the African Regent Hotel, brought together regulators, industry players, labor unions, and development partners to chart a safer future for Ghana's fishing industry. Under the theme, Safer Fishing, Stronger Livelihoods, the workshop focused on strengthening safety compliance, protecting workers, and improving coordination during emergencies at sea.
There was a video screening before we started, and you look at it and you realize that one fisher is taking care of at least more than 20 people. So if this fisher goes out to sea and does not return, it means you have multiple effects. The 20 people, their livelihoods has been cut. And so it is very essential that we tackle these safety issues and nip them in the bud.
One of the things we've also come to notice is that these numbers are very underreported. A lot of times there are accidents at seas with small boats clashing with larger ships, dangerous navigation at night times, and other hazardous situations which are not always reported. So that tells you that this is something that collectively we have to come together to look and solve this problem.
And the Ocean Center is not a one-year program or two-year program. It is designed to be a long-term initiative, because we know that if you want just to have some discussions, okay, a one-year project can say, okay, we arrived at that. Yes, we'll have the report. But if you really want to see changes, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And that's why we are here, with all of you gathered and inviting you not only for a one-year adventure, but to stay on board with us in this vessel that really wants to arrive somewhere and make a difference.
In a keynote address delivered on her behalf, Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Emilia Arthur, underscored the need for stricter safety enforcement and stronger protection for fishers, noting that safeguarding lives at sea is central to sustaining Ghana's fisheries economy.
Let us ensure that the people that we deploy out there, we put them first before the money. Because if you keep losing your seafarers, your crew members, what do you think will happen to the industry in the next 10, 20 years to come?
A major highlight of the event was the presentation on the Marine SafeNet Ghana project by Friends of the Nation, which aims to improve the stress reporting systems and enhance coordinated emergency responses for fishers operating in Ghanaian waters.
It's a solar-powered device, works on satellite connection. It has automatic capsize reporting, so there are 3 emergency contacts assigned to it. When canoe capsizes, it sends alert with the GPS information where, when, and what happened. Not exactly what happened, but when and where the incident happened. There is an SOS button on the device where the fishers can turn to the SOS when they are in distress, and the device will send an alert to the emergency contact. and also the monitoring dashboard. Then a sort of help can be sent in that regard.
Panel discussions featuring the Fisheries Commission, Ghana Maritime Authority, Ghana Industrial Trawlers Association, Ghana Canoe Fishermen Council, and the National Union of Seamen, Ports and Allied Workers examine vessel safety compliance, worker welfare, and collaboration across the fisheries value chain. The Ghana Revenue Authority Customs Division has intercepted 12 articulated trucks in a major enforcement operation conducted along the Tema Road. The operation was led by the Deputy Commissioner in charge of operations, Aaron Kano, with support from the Customs Preventive Unit and collaboration with the Revenue Mobilization Task Force of National Security and Enforcement officers from both the Tema Collection and the Customs Headquarters. The intercepted vehicles form part of 18 trucks that had been electronically gated out of the system. Preliminary investigations indicate that the trucks were declared as transit goods originating from Akanu and destined for Niger through Kulungugu, but were moving without the mandatory customs human escort, constituting a serious breach of transit procedures. The Deputy Minister for Finance, Honorable Thomas Nyakwampim, said the 12 intercepted trucks were found to be carrying a total of 45,055 packages of edible cooking oil, tomato paste, and spaghetti, estimated to represent a potential revenue loss of 85,306,578.33 Ghana cedis, with an initial assessment placing the recoverable revenue at 2,619,748.81 Ghana cedis. He said investigations are ongoing to determine the circumstances surrounding the disappearance of the remaining 6 trucks, as well as any possible collusion or procedural breaches.
So this is a huge revenue leakage to the state. I'm here with Commissioner General, customs officials, and other officials who are interested in this particular exercise. I've asked Commissioner General to conclude investigations within 1 week. We are told that 2 customs officials were expected to accompany, to escort these goods that were purported to go all the way to Niger. Unfortunately, they were not. We will want to find out why.
The Commissioner General of GRA, Anthony Kwesi Sapon, assured the public of its commitment to protecting state revenue, safeguarding the integrity of the transit regime, and ensuring that all attempts to undermine government revenue are dealt with decisively.
As a state agency responsible for revenue mobilization, I want to assure the nation that this exercise is going to continue, because our mandate is to ensure that we raise needed revenue for national development. Again, we want to sound a caution to all businesses and traders that they should voluntarily carry out their businesses in a compliant manner, and we'll support them as partners in national development. However, businesses that try to do activities or carry out their businesses in a manner that will try to usurp the right of the state and deny the state of the needed revenue, the strong arm of the law that we are mandated to do, as we are experiencing or seeing today, will stretch it. And when we get hold of them, we'll ensure that within the confines of the law, we'll apply it.
The seized trucks have been transferred to the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority's transit terminal, where they are currently under strict customs supervision with logistical support from GPHA.
All right, so those were some local stories. Now, with respect to the last story, there's an update, and there is a press release from ICOMS, that's Ghana Link, the operators of the Integrated Customs Management System at the port, and it says, update on missing transit trucks, all other 6 located and verified. And it says, Ghana Link Network Services Limited, operators of the tracking systems at the ports, have taken note of media reports and public statements suggesting that 6 out of 18 trucks linked to Bill of Entry, that's BOE, 802261-25039, were missing following an overnight enforcement operation. We wish to provide an update based on our electronic tracking, playback, and physical verification on the ground. Key facts in plain terms. 1. All 18 trucks under BOE 802261-25039 have been located on our tracking system. 2, the 6 trucks earlier described as missing were not missing to the tracking platform. As of yesterday and this morning, Ghana Link's field team physically confirmed their locations as seen on our tracking system. We therefore have transmitted the information and report to the Customs Division for any action deemed necessary under the law. 3, our playback indicates the trucks were on the declared transit route, Akano to Kulungugu onward, until authorities directed 11 trucks to move to the Tema Customs Transit Yard. Because the yard is not part of the declared transit corridor, an alert triggered a route deviation deviation alert on the tracking system. And this should be understood as an enforcement-led diversion of for controlled purposes, not evidence that trucks had disappeared. Now, where 6 trucks were located, that's tracking and physical verification. The following trucks previously described in reports as missing or outstanding persisted at the specified location and physically verified this morning, and their locations were shared with customs. Now, they list the number of the trucks, the tracking and physical cluster, as well as the disposition, that's Ghana Link, and the action that have been taken. And all the actions have been that they've been located and physically verified. We wish to help the media to understand and report correctly, as the emerging picture is not one of trucks vanishing, but an enforcement incident where 11 trucks were directed to a controlled holding point, that's Tema Transit Yard, and the other remaining trucks were traceable, located, and today, that was on Friday, 20 February 2026, physically verified and handed over to customs. We wish to state that our tracking systems are built to replace uncertainty with evidence. In this case, the tracking playback accounted for all trucks under the BOE, including those described as missing by the media. This morning, that was on Friday morning, our team went further to physically verify the 6 locations, and we have handed the information on trucks over to customs for next steps. We recognize the seriousness of suspected breaches of the transit regime, and we fully support lawful investigations by the Ghana Regional Authority and relevant state agencies, including national security. Ghana Link's role is to provide reliable visibility over transit movements through tracking data and operational support to the authorities. We remain fully committed to providing a world-class trade facilitation system that empowers business, strengthens government revenue, and support the growth of Ghana's economy. Signed by the head of public relations at Ghana Link Network Services Limited, operators of the integrated customs management system at the port. So that's the press release from them, and that's the update on that particular running story, which broke last week, where some trucks were apprehended and apparently declared missing. We had the finance minister, his deputies, the GRA commissioner general, and other officials from the GRA visiting there, and then addressing the media on this particular incident. And so that's the update we have for you over there. So we now go for the word or phrase of the day. And remember, the word or phrase of the day segment on our import is fashioned to bring you up to speed with the terminologies and jargons we use in the shipping industry. And so today we're talking about appraisement. Appraisement.
Appraisement. Determination of the dutiable value of imported merchandise by a customs official who follows procedures outlined in their country's tariff, such as the U.S. Tariff Act of 1930.
And straight to the health and safety tip for the day. Today we're talking about burn kits. Burn kits.
Burn kits. A burn kit is a specialized first aid kit designed to treat burn injuries. It typically includes items for managing both mild and severe burns caused by heat, chemicals, electricity, or radiation. The essential components often found in a burn kit include burn dressing, burn ointment, and other tools to provide immediate care and minimize damage. These kits are typically important in environments with high risk of burns, such as construction sites or kitchens.
All right, so we are zooming into our discussion proper tonight, and tonight we're taking a look at the clamor for a visa-free Africa and whether that's a panacea for economic prosperity within our continent and increased trade. Indeed, it's been a long-standing issue, and we've always talked about the fact that we don't trade amongst ourselves. And, we thought with the coming on stream of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, things would have been different, but it looks as if we are still stagnated, we are still where we are. We haven't seen any significant strides that ensures that we have that leverage in terms of trade amongst African nations and all that. And so tonight we want to examine whether indeed if we have mobility increased within Africa, that's going to be some element, it's going to bring some element of prosperity and create the path for increased trade among African nations. And it gives me pleasure this evening to introduce to us the indefatigable and hardworking Ras Mubarak, Honorable, former MP Kumbungu. I don't know whether he wants to be introduced by that way. He's also the lead campaigner for Trans-Africa Tourism and Unity Campaign. He's been to 31 African countries, and he's back in Ghana here. He's been clamoring for a visa-free Africa, and I mean, he's seen it. He's been to the various countries. He's seen how the architecture works and what we can do as it were to bridge the gap and ensure that we have some fluidity in terms of trade and mobility across Africa. Also in the studios with us is Mr. Dodi Sedu, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Africa Trade Academy. He's been here on a number of occasions, a couple of times, and so we are proud always to have you. Good evening, sir, and welcome. Honorable, welcome.
Thank you, Ken. Good to see you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this should be your first time on our report?
First time on our report, and I must commend you for bringing all port-related news to Ghanaians at home and beyond.
Thank you so much.
I commend you highly for this. Yes.
And I must say, I think a Happy New Year is in order.
Yes.
We are still in February.
Yes, we haven't met yet.
Yes.
As the year has begun.
Sure. Let me begin with Honorable Ras Mubarak and get you to give us some sense of what you saw on your rounds, during your rounds, when you visited the various nations, and what struck you, some of the salient takeaways that you took from your trip.
Well, so we traveled across 31 African countries in 160 days. That's 5 months. We've done 28 of those countries exclusively by road, and doing 3 of them by air due to circumstances beyond our control.
Right.
And I must tell you that it was an extremely difficult but necessary journey. And it's opened our eyes to what is possible. I mean, this is not the first time that a journey like this has been undertaken. You recall Colonel Muammar Gaddafi.
Yes.
He used to travel, frequently by road. In 1997, he traveled to Nigeria.
Yes.
In 2007, he traveled to Libya all the way from. He traveled to Ghana all the way from Libya. Yeah. Travel by road to, Zimbabwe. And all of these travels, gave him an inkling that indeed Africa has got to trade a lot more amongst itself.
Absolutely.
Having traversed 31 countries, 28 of which by road, we have been more convinced, than ever that this is necessary for Africa. Now, even before we started the journey, there were the doomsayers, doomsday prophets who said this was risky, it couldn't be done, we were going to get kidnapped. And I can tell you, without fear of contradiction, that throughout the 5 months on the road, it was only in Nigeria where we used, armed, security.
Right.
And this was to enable us travel from Abuja to the east of Nigeria into Cameroon.
Right.
You see a lot of, first of all, attempts at extortion. So even at the Togo border with Benin, there were attempts to take money from us. Yes. You see failed infrastructure in places like Malawi and Liberia.
Right.
You see genuine challenges, but inherent in these challenges are also opportunities and positive news.
Right.
For instance, if you go to Southern Africa, you've got the Trans-Kalahari Highway, which connects Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa. And this is a super highway to make travel, movement, especially overland, easier for the people.
Right.
You would expect that, other parts of Africa would replicate, some of these things to make it easier for those who can't afford shipment and those who can't afford air travel to be able to travel freely. You also see a lot of, you hear about a lot of stereotyping, and that occurs even here in Ghana, where people tell you that, they don't want Africa's borders to be open because Nigerians would come in, forgetting that Nigerians don't need, visas to come to Ghana because of ECOWAS protocol. So they have access to several countries. If you look at Southern Africa, particularly South Africa, you hear people say that, we don't want West Africans here because they're coming to take our women.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of ridiculous statements being made as to why we shouldn't integrate.
Yes.
And probably because the case hasn't been made enough. There hasn't been a compelling story told to the African public that if you integrate, not only would it be best for your government, but it will be best for your young people, because currently there are more universities in Africa than there were in my generation when I was in school.
Right.
There are more universities in Africa than there were in my father's generation. And this is the most educated, generation we have today.
Right.
And so countries keep churning out young people from the various institutions of higher learning. What that means is that you need sustainable jobs to be able to, keep these young people busy, because Africa has a very youthful population. Majority of, the people in Africa are young people. And if governments are not careful to keep them busy, we would find ourselves in all manner of, difficulties. You see incidences of terrorist attacks in the Sahel region and, parts of West Africa, especially Nigeria. These are all happening because there are no sustainable jobs. So, a terrorist organization can tell young people that, look, we'll give you $100 or $200 every month. All you need to do is just go and bomb some markets. For these young people, they've never seen even, the equivalent of $100 in their local currency. And so they are more prone, and susceptible to committing crime. As it were, if they had sustainable jobs, they should be able to, say, no, I don't want to deal with these things, And so Africa has huge potential. I mean, you're looking at a population of 3.4, a combined GDP of $3.4, $3.5 trillion. You're looking at a population of 1.4 billion, people. West Africa alone has a combined GDP of more than 450 million. And so if we are trading a lot more amongst ourselves, either over land, either by sea or by air, then government would get revenue, it would generate resources, because we've gotten to a point where we even have to promote cultural exchanges the more. So it's not just about trade, but it's also about tourism. It's about cultural exchanges. Take what happened in Zambia recently, where our president went to Lusaka in Zambia,
the Fugu,
and
the Fugu
people,
incident,
saw our Fugu as a blouse. I mean, if Africans had a lot of cultural exchanges, you wouldn't be seeing some of or hearing some of these things. So what happened in Zambia had happened because the African is ignorant of his or her continent, Africa. And that we are more excited to learn about, Paris and London and Washington than we are to learn about our own African, continent. So the point is, we've got to trade a lot more amongst ourselves. That will generate revenue. That will create sustainable jobs. That would reduce our dependence on all of these import countries, I call them, who mean nothing. They come here without good intentions. You take a country like Mauritania, where there's about over 2,000 kilometers of rail, all right? And, people are extracting iron ore straight to the ports. And there's zero regard to, creating an avenue for people to also travel. So there are no coaches even on these trains, and as Africans, we've got to be wary. When a man who is without a shirt comes to tell you he will give you a shirt, you've got to think twice about it.
That's true.
It is only Africans who can fix Africa. And the sooner we wrap this around our heads and work together and stop the dependency on, some big brother out of the continent of Africa, the better for us. Because Africa is a very blessed country. Whether it's the land, whether it's the topography, whether it's the climate, whether it's the people, we are very warm people. I mean, we traveling around, 31 countries in 5 months. convinced us that Africans are warmer than we even thought, you know, and you would find strangers who are willing to assist. You know, we've had a couple of accidents on the road, and, you know, you won't believe how people had to stop whatever they were doing just to come and support. You don't get these things, you know, or elsewhere on the continent of Africa. And every African country has something special to offer. Whether it's the cuisine, whether it's the way of dressing, you know, whether it's the dance style, whether it's the music, we all have unique selling propositions, you know. And so if we open up, people will be able to trade, people will be able to tour. I mean, currently, we should be promoting intra-Africa tourism, intra-Africa trade, cultural exchanges, educational exchanges, etc. And this has become more necessary now than ever, where the world currently is chaotic, you know, and the so-called Western world, which Africa looked up to for direction on issues of good governance and morality, keep demonstrating that they can't be relied on, that they are not the, you know, standard bearers of, you know, good governance, given their own, you know, activities and hawkish behavior around the world. And so for me, doing all of these things, I've noticed that Africa is blessed with enormous resources. I mean, take DRC, a country that has been at war since Lumumba was overthrown in 1960 or so. Now, this is a country that can comfortably, if they were to get their act together, take care of the rest of the African continent comfortably for the next 10 years. That is how blessed they are, because they've got enormous natural resources. Now add Angola, which has enormous oil deposits, add Algeria, add Nigeria, add Botswana, diamonds, add Sierra Leone, diamonds, add Ghana, add all the countries, even add Somalia, which recently, you know, discovered huge deposits of natural gas and oil. You know, so we've got everything to get it right. And I am beside myself with frustration that we've signed all of these protocols at the African Union level, yet we are refusing as a continent to ratify these protocols that would make it easier for our people to move freely, that would make it easier for our people to reside in other African countries, that would make it easier for our people to establish businesses. I mean, it should be easier for you, Ken, to leave Ghana and go live, say, Botswana, you know, without any headache. But currently, it will even take you 3 months or more to get a visa to Botswana. That is how long it took us. It took us 3 months to get visas to Botswana. I mean, how do we do these things to ourselves as Africans? We got to Cameroon, and it was a nightmare. Meanwhile, Cameroon is a miniature Africa. This is a country that can comfortably feed the whole of Africa. Given its...
Cameroon?
Yes, they can comfortably...
That's vast lands?
Vast lands, you know, arable land, etc. I mean, why should Russia and Ukraine go into a conflict situation and we starve? And there's food shortages in Africa, a continent with, you know, sunshine 366 days in a year. It's mindless. Why should we bring in fertilizer from out of the continent of Africa when Morocco is the biggest producer of fertilizer? Why should we bring in frozen chicken from South America when Zambia is self-sufficient with, you know, poultry and grains? And so we've got to trade amongst ourselves. That is the only way we can, you know, extricate ourselves from this dependence on the West. You know, it's the only way we can create jobs for our young people, and it's the only way that government can generate revenue. A final point on this. Currently, our cocoa farmers are crying. Prices of cocoa on the international market has fallen. And so it's affecting government's budget and plans. All right? I mean, this has happened over the years. Every now and then, prices of commodities drop on the international market. We don't control the prices. And when they drop, they, you know, rip to shreds government's plans for the country, be they in infrastructure, agriculture, etc. The time has come for Africa to diversify its economy and to look at other avenues of other revenue streams,
Yes.
of generating resources. And I say there's no better way of, diversifying than through tourism.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's an enormous market.
Yeah.
I don't see
Potential
why
is huge.
And that is huge. And look at the value chain, from tour guides to drivers to food vendors to people selling, artifacts, etc.
Yeah.
To hotels. I mean, it's a huge value chain. And if we focus, every African country, take Morocco. 2 years ago, Morocco attracted over 17 million tourists.
Yes.
I don't see why Ghana cannot do that. I don't see why Zimbabwe shouldn't do that. I don't see why Sierra Leone and all of these countries in Africa with something special to showcase. I mean, you mentioned London, and a typical African can tell you everything about London or Paris. You mentioned Accra or Luanda in Angola or Mbabane in Eswatini, and we go blank. We should be teaching
They're more
ourselves.
inclined to the West than to Africa.
And it's part of the damage that has been done to us as a result of slavery, then colonization, and now neo-colonization, where we are more proud to accept Western values and culture than we are proud to accept our own culture. Today, if you wear a suit and tie and go into an office, then you are seen as smartly dressed. If you wear your slit and kaba or your fugu, you are seen as somebody who is not sophisticated. Why must it be this way?
I get it. Thank you very much indeed, Honorable. I'll be coming back to you, but let me come to Mr. Dodi Sedu and find out from you. Several years down the line, we have AFTA. Ghana is fortunate to host the Secretariat, National Secretariat, but we don't seem to be doing anything significant under AFTA. What is the issue, and how would mobility, in Africa help, to increase the level of trade that we're having?
Thank you once again, and Ken, for having me, and good to meet you, sir. I think you did really embark on something very significant, and I commend you and your team for making that very bold, taking a bold expedition and also making a statement. On the AFCFTA, I think that what we need to clearly understand is that we are making good progress. If I say we continentally, the AFCFTA Secretariat is making good progress. Why do I say that? I say that because trade agreements are, acts of law that must be integrated into national legal frameworks, beyond which industries, private sector, businesses must see and understand the opportunity and leverage on them. And from where I sit, I see a lot of interest. I see a lot of way being made. And I think that the Ministry of Trade, for example, in Ghana, and many other institutions in Africa, including the Secretariat, are taking those steps. What we need going forward is to accelerate them, is to really give a lot of priority, a lot of removing of the barriers that affect trade, so that these aspirations can happen. When it comes to the aspect of free movement of people, I think that it's being a very critical aspect of enhancing and promoting trade. Now, when trade began, or as trade has progressed, one key thing that has brought trade this far was the insurgence of globalization. Now, there's been deglobalization, but globalization was driven by a number of factors. One of them being technological, that through technology, we were able to connect more. One of them being transportation. We had shipping lines coming up, and also containerization that allowed goods to move across the globe. And with that also came the ability to trade, and then also movement of people became critical. What is happening is that we've made good progress in some of these things, but we've left behind aspects of free movement of people. Now, don't forget, even with ships, aircrafts, and transportation like trucks moving, people move. There are pilots, there are air crew, there are ship workers and captains who move these people. And there are ways and means by which internationally standards and procedures have been developed to enhance their movement. What is become critical, especially for Africa, and this is my view, I believe that...
Is the light on your microphone on? It's on, okay. So, yeah, okay, great.
Okay.
I think it's on there, sure.
So I believe that what is happening is that the global developments and frameworks that were developed were looked more from a Western perspective. Africa has some very unique situations, which includes the amount and the volume of trade that is conducted cross-border, I mean physical border. We have 55 countries, most of which are contiguous. So like Rasmussen was saying, you go from, if you take Abidjan-Lagos corridor, 6 countries with 8 corridors, okay? And trade is happening, along these corridors. So we have cross-border trade, we have corridor trade. There are about, I can't count the number, but there are significant corridors that some of which are even overlooked. For example, he mentioned the trip from Abuja going all the way. There's a corridor between Lagos all the way to Kano that goes into Niger. Okay, we have corridors, north-south corridors. So the corridor from Tema through Ouaga to Niamey, the corridor that goes again from Tema into Burkina Faso. There's a corridor from Dakar all the way into Guinea, then into Burkina. Just within West Africa, there are about 6 significant corridors. And Burkina Faso, for example, is a major hub. So all of these corridors, so Abidjan to Ouaga, Lomé to Ouaga, Benin, these are very, very significant corridors. And what I'm saying is that when we talk about trade under the AFCFTA or regional trade, we need to factor these. And so this is where the human movement comes in, because the trucks that move, the traders need to move, and all these people need to move. So yes, once we are looking at enhancing intra-Africa trade, then we need to come up with what, in my view, will be practical ways to enhance the free movement of people in the context of the movement of goods as well as services. And this is where I think, as we have implemented the AFCFTA thus far, we need to look at. Let me also mention that if you go back to the establishment of ECOWAS in 1975, they saw a critical role of the free movement of people. That is why in 1979, the same ECOWAS, the Economic Commission of Community of West African States, had a free movement of people protocol, which came into force. Except that, of course, at the time, it was envisaged to be a trial, that you try movement of people for 90 days, right to movement, right to residency, and right to establishment. And if you look at it, you see that it's supposed to be tempered with passports or valid travel documents and a travel health certificate. I think since we've done this for almost 5 decades, we've done well. We need to move on now to the next stage. Good news is that ECOWAS, what we call the Ghana card, is technically an ECOWAS identification system, which is supposed to enhance the next level of free movement of people. So if you notice, especially the cross-border traders, the Ghana card is a very important document. Except that in some ECOWAS member states, the card rollout has not been done. For example, I know that the company that did the Ghana cards work for us is now rolling out the same thing in the Gambia. So in Benin, it's not been fully rolled out. So these aspects are remaining aspects that we need to look at to enhance regional and continental trade as we look at, moving from the protocol establishment to the AFCFTA implementation. Yes, when it comes to the AFCFTA itself, on the day that the AFCFTA agreement was signed by 40 countries, African states, the same day 32 countries signed the AU Free Movement of People Protocol, except that only 4 or so countries have ratified it. And like Honorable Rasmussen was saying, this is where we have a challenge. I think that the African political class are afraid of losing their grip on, allowing movement of people. And this is my view, that the political class...
a turf war or something?
Well, it has to do with control. Because once now, the political class get their mandates from the citizens and the people within a certain geography. Now, if you let that free movement happen, of course, you have to have assurances that people who can vote, people who can elect into office are only citizens. You have to have assurances. And once you cannot guarantee that assurance, then you don't want to allow for free movement of people, right to residency, and right to establishment, which can dilute your political base. This is my view, but it's subject to contention and discussion later on. So this is where I think we need to address and enhance the ability of people to move, and also to assure that the political class will have the safety of tenure and safety of mandate as we go forward. So I think I'll pause here for further questions, if any.
Yes. No, I just wanted to find out from you what role tariffs play in the scheme of things, and how come we're still at this particular stage? What role has tariffs played? Well, some people clamor for the removal of tariffs.
Well, tariffs are
help accelerate.
Tariffs and non-tariff barriers, I'll put them together, are critical for regulation of trade. Okay, so when it comes to tariffs, for many African countries, not many, all African countries, we generate most of our tax revenue from taxing imports.
Absolutely.
Yes, if you look at, for example, Ghana, we have now about 12 taxes we levy on an import, any import you make. So from the NHIL to the VAT, including some fees, inspection levy, examination levy, you name it, as the list goes on and on. So removing that is both a sensitive issue for some countries, especially if you have about 15 to 20% of your total revenue in terms of internally generated taxes coming from that. However, the alternative is to drive for more indirect taxes. And this is also where there's been a call for expanding the tax net. At some point, the tax net is so expanded, or the existing taxpayers may become overburdened with so many taxes that it becomes almost ineffective. However, the tariff liberalization is going on that aspect in terms of the tariff liberalization. But you also need the non-tariff measures. So there's a technical difference between non-tariff barriers and non-tariff measures. Non-tariff measures are legitimate policy measures that are implemented by governments to safeguard our trade, so that what comes in is safe for consumption. If somebody brings in cooking oil, we should be able to have an organization like the FDA or GSA say that this oil has been tested and it's safe for human consumption. So that measure, when it is developed, is a non-tariff measure. However, when you implement the measure in a way that it becomes a restriction on trade, an unfair restriction on trade, then we call it a non-tariff barrier. So for example, you implement it such that it affects more imports than domestically produced similar goods, it becomes a non-tariff barrier. Maybe the process to obtain a permit or a license to import that product or export that product, the process, if it becomes lengthy, it becomes expensive, if there is any indication of paying facilitation fees, then it becomes a non-tariff barrier. And so you see that in some respects, some countries, and this is not just Africa, globally, a lot of countries have reduced tariffs, but they've increased or instituted more non-tariff measures, and in some cases non-tariff. So for a simple product, you may have more than 5 agencies involved in its approval, imports, and marketing, even domestically, and that in itself could become a challenge. So I think the Clamour, or for Africa, what we need to see now is transparency of measures. Okay, so the issue is not just having the measures, but the measure should be developed and objectively implemented. It should be developed, and the importers and exporters of the product giving enough time to know it and understand it and adjust. Okay, for example, if I'm to export a product that you require me to use a particular chemical or a particular I was just this week with an organization that regulates fish exports from Ghana. So if the oil that the fish the sardine needs to sit in must be of a certain texture, and quality. You don't just say that from next week or next month it should be so. By best practice, well, we give 90 days. So 90 days for the private sector to receive that information, assess it, and adapt their processes. Because I could have imported a certain volume of that raw material, and in 20 days I need to just, what do I do with it? So that information helps you to now, adjust. So we need transparency of that. Then we also need education. If you are a regulator and you have to institute some of these measures, which is in your legitimate mandate, you also have the responsibility to inform, to educate, to get people aware, okay? And you need to do that. So these are all some of the measures that you need to put in place for non-tariff measures and tariff measures to be fully understood and then implemented. Of course, even with tariffs, there's been some indications in the past. I don't think I want to go into that. But for example, the discussion between FOB, CIF, the discussion between benchmark values or to use transaction value, these are all things that have gone on for a while. But I think what is important is that trade affects everybody. The person who signs off on a permit issuing regime would directly or indirectly be affected by the price of the goods they buy on the market. So we need people to think broadly, to look at how trade measures affect everyone, and then come up with what we call a Pareto measure. So the measure benefits a lot of people. In most cases, trade measures always affect some people. But you look for who gets the most benefit, especially when, if for example, there's price reduction and the masses and the general population can benefit, it is better. However, if, let's say, the benefits go to the profits of, let's say, large multinationals who end up maybe, moving capital back to headquarters, not for this economy, then sometimes if you are of a socialist orientation, then we don't find that to be a fair measure that is benefiting the trade sector.
Right. Thank you very much. Let me come back to Honorable Ras Mubarak and find out from you the issue of mobility once again. And some people are of the belief, rightfully so, that visa restrictions is impeding, policies or programs like the AFTA. Is it something that you believe in?
Well, I mean, people need to move to be
you
able
agree
to.
with?
People need to move to be able to close deals. They need to move for meetings. They need to move to negotiate. Market exploration. Etc. So clearly, if there are visa hurdles, it affects people's ability, to strike business and to promote trade. I was telling you a while ago about the difficulty we ran into in Cameroon. So we had e-visas. When we got to the border, we were told that they don't accept e-visas at the land border. What it meant was that we needed to drive 10 hours round trip back into Nigeria just to get, visas to come back.
Wow. And you did that?
And otherwise we're returning to Ghana. We had to drive to Nigeria to get the visas before, we could be allowed in. We said all the nice things we could say, they wouldn't budge.
Wow.
Now, on the day we were exiting Cameroon, it was a Sunday. They told us they don't work on a Sunday. And they won't allow us to leave. We got to the border at 2 p.m. By 9 p.m., we were still at the border. It had to take the intervention of the Director
7 hours.
Director General of Immigration of Cameroon, who placed a call for us to be able to cross. Now imagine the woman who is trading, trying to convey perishable goods, only to get to the border to be told that she can't go because it's a Sunday.
The quality of the goods is compromised.
The quality, the lifespan of the
goods,
goods definitely compromised. So these visa hurdles. And recently, when I was at the side event of the African Union 39th session, I spoke about it. Ethiopia is the diplomatic capital of Africa. It's the political capital, if you like. Now, it's mindless for Africans to be asked to acquire visas before they enter Ethiopia. So you get to the border, you can't enter, and you have to pay $50 plus your visa on arrival before you're allowed in. Currently, there's about 28.2% of Africans who are able to travel, without the requirements of visas, according to the Africa Visa Openness Index
Right.
conducted by the
Right.
AFDB. You know, so restrictions obviously impede trade.
Absolutely.
It impedes tourism. It impedes cultural exchanges.
Yeah.
You know, it keeps us backward, and it hampers government's ability to generate revenue. You know, and we're not just talking about making it easier for people to access visas or free visas, but even the infrastructure, whether at the port of entry, the land borders, or you know, at the airports, the infrastructure has to be there if we really want to trade amongst ourselves. I mean, you get to a border, and this happened to us severally, and you are stuck at the border for 3, 4, 5 hours in some cases because the system is down. This is 2026. I can't wrap my head around a system being down for 5 hours, and people can't process your vehicle or your documents to move on to the next country simply because you know the system is down.
The extent that sometimes it's even faster for you to move from here to the west than to you know, another African country.
It's actually faster.
Yeah.
It's cheaper. Listen, we had an accident in Zambia, and we were behind time, so we needed to get to Morocco. So we flew to Morocco, and to fly to Morocco, the cheapest airlines were the one run by non-Africans.
Wow.
And the African airlines were the most expensive. These are some of the challenges inhibiting the free movement of people and goods within the continent of Africa. And then we have instances where some countries don't talk to each other. So you've got Algeria and Morocco, they are not talking to each other because of Western Sahara. You've got the issue of Burundi and Rwanda. The border between Burundi and Rwanda is closed.
Wow.
You know, you've got Ethiopia.
Something that you can just walk across, but you can.
You've got Ethiopia, which shares border with Eritrea, and Ethiopian Airlines can't fly to Eritrea because, you know, they are bickering.
Wow.
You know, so these things are genuine, but we've got to wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah.
The youth, currently, the African Union has what they call the Agenda 2063, where they hope that by the year 2063, which is about 37, 38 years from now, you know, Africa should be open. You know, Africans should have the right of abode, the right to move, the right to establish, etc. We are saying that's a lifetime for a young person. Imagine a young graduate who finishes Legon or Cape Coast or UDS. He's in his late 20s. Add 38 years to his life. He's almost retiring. You know, and so create opportunities now to be able to make it easier for young people to get jobs, to stay off the streets, and to stay off, you know, committing crime and violence. The other thing that is hindering trade, that is hindering movement of our people and goods, is the cost of movement. Not only are our visa fees so expensive, there were 8 of us that did a road trip. Visa fees alone cost us over $12,000.
Wow.
Just to get visas to 11 countries.
Wow.
Some of them are charging as much as $250. Equatorial Guinea, Congo. Ghana charges some countries as much as $200. And I make the argument that the money you make from visa fees is negligible. It's minute
compared
to the benefits you would rake from people being able to come in, having access to accommodation, local transport, etc. And so we should stop worrying our heads about how much money we're making in visa fees and start looking at the bigger picture. All right? And then, apart from visa fees being expensive and making it difficult for traders and tourists and students and everybody else to travel, but even the cost of hotels. I mean, look at how much our hotels cost in Ghana.
I'll come to you with that when we go for a break and come. I would want to find out from you which country is the most expensive, those that you went to, and then which one is the cleanest. I mean, but you finish your submission. Once you are done, then we'll go for a break.
You know, so these are all challenges, you know, that are making it difficult for the African trader to move from one part of the continent to the other to be able to sell goods. If we are buying from each other, the money remains here. And I've made the point repeatedly that $1 spent out of Africa, bringing in goods into Africa, is $1 spent impoverishing our African people. Because you are keeping factories in these continents busy. whilst your youth can't get jobs. And so instead of, being driven by, imports, we should think about setting up factories and as the late Danlate of GCPP would say, grow what we eat and eat what we grow.
Absolutely.
As a way of empowering our African people, as a way of generating revenue, as a way of encouraging the free movement of our people. Dodi mentioned earlier, and this is my final point on your question, about the fear of, the political class to open up. And it's a real fear, but it's a fear that is not grounded on facts.
Right.
Look at Rwanda. Rwanda is sandwiched between Burundi and DRC.
Yes.
DRC has conflict. Burundi is, fairly okay.
Right.
But in spite of the conflicts in DRC that is raging, that has been raging for years on end, Rwanda is completely visa-free for all African nationals. And I say to the government of Ghana and the governments elsewhere, if a country like Rwanda can go into a war situation, nearly 1 million Rwandese killed in a genocide, and still come out of it, and still rise from the ashes, and get its acts together, what business does Ghana have not getting its acts together?
Absolutely.
What business does
very
Kenya have not getting its acts together? And so the argument has to be compelling that indeed, as a matter of fact, Kenya has recently also become visa-free for all African nationals.
Right.
Because they can see the benefits that Rwanda is getting. They are both in the same region. Rwanda is literally getting all the conferences in Africa, all the big events.
Everybody wants to.
I was watching TV a while ago. There's a big world cycling event happening in Rwanda because it's easier for people to go there. I mean, for a successful businessman, it's very, cumbersome to ask him to go and queue and submit his bank statement for a visa to an African country.
Make sense,
And I say to my African people, if Europeans and Americans are harassing us, as Africans, must we harass ourselves?
No.
An African coming into an African country, then it becomes a problem. Of course, they've raised issues of security as a way of, keeping the border closed. But what is the data? What are the facts on the ground? The facts are that the number of people committing cross-border crime are fewer. And that in every country, there are challenges. Whether it's the Western world. Take Sweden, for instance. Sweden has become, one of the countries in Europe with the highest gun violence. Take the United States of America. 40 million Americans live on food stamps. As a matter of fact, it's easier to get killed, to get shot in America, than for you to get shot here in Africa. It's easier for your phone to be snatched from you on the streets of London than it is for your phones to be snatched from you on the streets of Accra. And throughout all of these African countries, our phones are out there and we are foaming. Look at the knife crime in these places, knife crimes in these places. So no country is perfect. All right. The security issues can be fixed by technology. I don't see why we should have difficulty deploying, new technology, drones, etc., enhanced biometric features as a way of knowing who is coming in and who is going out. If Rwanda is doing it, what business do we have not getting it right? And so we have absolutely no excuse to hide behind security. Why are we not sharing intelligence amongst ourselves? And we are quick to share intelligence with the West.
Absolutely.
And how is it difficult for us to share intel, for Burkina to share intel with Ghana, vice versa, etc. So we've got to, stop the excuses. It's not helped us for more than 60 years. In the 60s, Nkrumah and his contemporaries, Modibo Keita, Sékou Touré, and others were talking about, the free movement of our people and the right of abode, etc. 2026, we're still singing the same song.
Absolutely.
2018, we signed the protocols on free movement of people. As Dodi said, 4 countries have ratified it. Niger.
40, is it?
4.
Only 4.
Only 4.
Out of 30, wow.
Rwanda, Seychelles, Niger, and Mali. And out of these 4, 2 have been suspended, Mali and Niger, by the African Union.
Yes.
And so technically, you've got 2 countries that have ratified it. Why is it difficult?
For the rest, yeah.
Why must our young people struggle to get jobs in a continent of plenty? Recently, we were in Gambia. 190 Gambian young men and women perished in the Mediterranean.
They were going
abroad.
For greener pastures.
When we have everything here. When we should be trading a lot more amongst ourselves. When we should open up and learn more amongst ourselves and create revenue and generate and create jobs. Yeah. You know, so for me as a politician, it gets extremely frustrating. Yeah. Because Ken, if we don't get it right and keep these young people busy, you wouldn't even have a studio called Metro TV. Yeah. You wouldn't even have Tema ports. Yeah. It's happening already in South Africa. People are carjacking. Yeah. Crimes are high in Southern Africa because of joblessness. And so we shouldn't be afraid. You see, colonization hasn't, and I hate to refer to this because, I mean, the colonial masters, even though some would argue they haven't left, but they left a long time ago. Yeah. And if in the face of everything that has happened, and in the face of the natural resources we have, we're still where we are, then there's something fundamentally wrong with us.
Absolutely, I agree. Thank you very much indeed, Honorable Ras Mubarak, lead campaigner, Trans-Africa Tourism and Unity Campaign, and indeed Mr. Dodi Sedu. I don't know whether I should always say Reverend, because I know you do some work in the vineyard of the Lord.
Please feel free to do that.
Absolutely. Who's also the CEO of Africa Trade Academy. They are the two gentlemen we're having a discussion with tonight. And tonight we're taking a look at the Clamour for visa-free Africa and whether that's the panacea to economic prosperity and indeed increased trade in Africa. And you can hear from the pundits in the studios tonight. We're going to go for a quick break. When we return, we will activate the phone lines for you to call in and contribute to the discussion. Also share your messages with our pundits and get them to elicit on responses from them for you. So please do stay with us. This is how important, remember. Stay with us.
Good energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP. Available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP, Wufilia, huh? Wubefeel. Goil, good energy. Yeah, yeah.
Electricity, then pay your taxes. Yeah, our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is. You still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water. Or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Welcome to today's edition of Serene Insurance Business News. We present to you Serena.
You're right. You can complete an entire insurance process for the purchase of any motor and other insurance products, from onboarding to issuing a motor insurance sticker and policy certificate, all on WhatsApp in less than 10 minutes. Serena is simple to use and it prioritizes user ease and flexibility. You can either use voice notes or text to effortlessly issue your instant policy, cross-platform renewals, claims, and also process your payments through mobile money, Visa, and MasterCard. To engage Serena, just search for Serena Insurance on all social media handles and scan the Serena barcode or save her number 0500 517 114 and start chatting her on WhatsApp immediately.
There you have it. Serena is not just a tool. It's an innovation by Serene Insurance designed to redefine how motor and travel insurance are accessed and managed. Speed, convenience, and reliability.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
At Phoenix Insurance, we make the unpredictable predictable and the uncertain certain with our range of products, including motor insurance, fire insurance, engineering insurance, marine insurance, accident insurances, and all types of bonds. We have you covered. We also support you with risk management advice to enable you stay focused on your business. Take a policy with Phoenix Insurance today. We help you rise from adversity stronger and more secure. Contact us on 0302 246319 or 0302 246644 or any of our branches, agencies, and brokers spread across the nation. You can as well connect with us on our WhatsApp chatbot. Efiba is waiting to assist you. Make the future predictable with Phoenix Insurance. Phoenix Insurance, a delightful service experience delivered with wisdom.
All right, so welcome back. This is Iron Port here on Metro TV. Tonight we're taking a look at the clamor for visa-free Africa and whether that's a panacea to increase prosperity, economic prosperity as it were, and increased trade in Africa. With us in the studios, the Honorable Ras Mubarak, who is the leader and lead campaigner, Trans-Africa Tourism and Unity Campaign. Yes, they've been to 31 African countries, and he has a lot indeed. Time is not our friend, and I'm just beginning to enjoy the conversation, and I'm sure another time we'll have you to come and we can unpack whatever it is that you went out there and you saw. Also with us in the studios, the Reverend Dodi Seydou, who is the CEO Africa Trade Academy. They're the two gentlemen we're having a discussion with. And so I've been told that we have activated the phone line for you to call in. The number to dial will show right there on your screen. It is 0245-834980. That's it right there on your screen. You can call in and contribute to the discussion. Indeed, we'll also be sharing your messages with our guests pretty shortly so that they can give you some responses. And so let me come to you, Mr. Reverend Seydou. Reverend Seydou, and then find out from you. Now, we'll take a look at whether there are empirical examples within Africa, that's e.g. ECOWAS, that show positive outcomes for freer movement.
Well, thank you. So on the free movement of people in ECOWAS or empirical evidence,
yes,
I think the Africa Regional Integration Index tried to assess the level of integration in many African countries. And one of the components of that assessment was the free movement of people.
Right.
In Africa, across the 8 recognized regional economic communities, I think it's ECOWAS that has a framework for free movement of people that is enviable.
Right.
So we have a 90-day right to movement, right to residence, and also right to establishment. Beyond that, I think if you look at the Africa Visa Openness Index also, there are several countries that have different rankings. So Rasmussen mentioned some countries that have visa-free in Africa, that have visa-free arrangements with several countries. So Ghana is working at that, at least for a short time frame. So we have, for example, Ghana has developed something with South Africa in terms of free movement of people, where you can go there or they can come here for 90 days. And I think the one with South Africa and a few others, Kenya, apart from the historical connection, also has to do with the emerging trade connection.
Right.
South Africa is one of the dominant hubs for manufacturing and trade in Africa.
Yes.
And so it's in line. Now, the benefits of free movement of people are very, very, very clear and very, very obvious. So when people can move and can trade, it contributes to the economic growth of those people in terms of the countries where they originate from and they move from. For example, Ras Mubarak mentioned there's often a calculation for every dollar that a tourist spends in a country, how much stays within that country. And for many cases, there is between a 60 to 40% of a dollar. If let's say a South African comes here, between $30 to $40 of that would be spent, domestically. It will stay in Ghana. So the hotels will benefit. Depending on the sectors. If you take even in terms of investment, many of the Pan-African investments, which is something that we are developing now, comes from South Africa, comes from Mauritius, comes from Egypt, comes from Nigeria. So I'm talking about Ghana. And even across the continent, which African countries are investing in other African countries. You see, this conversation must be had in perspective. What is happening is that trade and investment is changing. Okay? The perception of Africa as a high-risk destination is still high in certain quarters. And like Honorable Mubarak said, it is only Africans who understand Africans. It is only African investors, which includes people who invest in businesses, who know how to navigate the African complexities, if there is anything like that. So when you facilitate the movement of people and facilitate the investment, these are some of the benefits. So the ability for people to invest. So we have, unfortunately, I'm not too abreast with how many Ghanaian businesses have invested in other African countries. Yes, but if you talk about like the MTNs and the UBAs and the, some of those organizations, you see significant work. Now, let me even mention, take the work that GPHA has been doing with some of our sister and brother ports and harbors. I know you work very well with the Gambian ports and harbors. That is something that works effectively because there is free movement of people. You can provide technical assistance. I've heard stories about how Ghanaian engineers have supported, let's say, the Liberian Electricity Authority or providers. These are the things that, so the brain gain is huge. We have certain benefits or certain capabilities, not just in one direction. So both ways, Ghanaian teachers who, in years back, before the 83 incident when they were asked to return from Nigeria, who were teachers, in the Gambia, again, outside, for a long time, lawyers and judges as chief justice were of Ghanaian origin, and if today they have their own judges, it is because Ghanaians and other Africans help them. And this is where sometimes, if you even look at development cooperation assistance, you need like-minded people. We talk about South-South cooperation because it is only people of the South who have certain circumstances who can provide the same support or even the same advice in those contexts. So
even in Zambia, we're told that Ghanaians were teachers there. I mean,
exactly
when they started,
exactly.
We deployed teachers.
As a matter of fact, just the whole of Southern Africa, you've got a lot of Ghanaians who went there as teachers, as architects, as engineers, etc.
Professionals, to help them develop their country.
Exactly. So in terms of the empirical evidence, it is very, very huge. I think what we've not done is that we've not harnessed these things. We've not harnessed them to the point of growth. Let's take some of the issues we have. If I say issues we have, our integration has certain elements. When Honorable Mubarak was speaking, for tourism and the meetings, the conferences sector to work, there are certain concomitant factors. So if, let's say, Rwanda is hosting or has conferences, it's because they have the tourism space, the Kigali Convention Center, they have very good, at least pleasant taxi drivers, who provide the support, the ecosystem. So if people can move freely, some of these sectors would benefit, would grow to meet. We have people who have hotels or standard rooms at reasonable rates. I mean, in our country, for example, you don't have a lot of space at reasonable rates. The rates are very, very, very high, So I want to also mention that. And I was also mentioning it because I think that we need to harness the stories, the positives of this. I was talking about our challenges. If you take regional flights, which is a component of trade, because certain things must move by air.
Yes.
A lot of pharmaceuticals that will move in cold chain from, let's say, Ghana to Kenya, vaccines, would need aircrafts, and we need domestic or regional airlines. Right. And so free movement of people, again, would mean that these airlines must have ground staff who are either working in both places or in multiple places to facilitate the free movement of the goods as well as the people. So in a nutshell, I would say that it's very important that we facilitate or we harness some of these experiences. Right. Because even with some of the foreign, the non-African investors who come in directly without having any African experience, they often fold up quickly. They say it is difficult, they say it is hard. It is not. There is a way every ecosystem operates. For example, many Africans are very relational. Yeah. Okay. If you come in and say, I'm coming to do business and all I care is business, people may fold their arms and say, okay, do business. But if you relate, if you say, oh, Kenneth, how are you doing? I hope your family is well. Things like that, people open up to work with you. So yes, they may work with you for the salary, but they enjoy the fact that you are relational. And those who have been here for long understand this and can operate more. That's why you have some businesses, maybe not of African origin, but they are able to operate in multiple countries because they understand the terrain and can utilize it.
Awesome. Thank you very much indeed. Honorable Rasmus, I told you that when we come back, I was going to find out from you the countries that you visited, which one was the most expensive, which one was the most cleanest. I know Rwanda has taken that shine. Everybody touts it as the cleanest, but you have been there, you've seen it. What is it?
Well, I mean, so if you take West Africa, Senegal is one of the very expensive countries in West Africa. Wow. You know, if you thought Ghana was expensive, go to Senegal. Okay. Abidjan, Ivory Coast is also very expensive. Okay. South Africa is expensive. Angola, the interesting thing with Angola is that Angola has the second cheapest oil, fuel, in Africa after Libya. Wow. So if you were to pick a taxi or a trotro from, say, Medina to Accra, if it were costing you, say, 10 cedis, it will cost you the same amount to go from, Accra to Kaswa. Right. Because of the oil wealth. But anything else in Luanda, Angola, is very, very expensive. Okay. Now, in terms of cleanliness, obviously, Rwanda, for sub-Saharan Africa, Rwanda stands out. Right. But Benin here in West Africa is doing very well. I hadn't visited Benin in over a decade, in about 13 years. And our visit in August of last year blew our minds. Wow. Benin is getting all the indicators right. One of the countries I was surprised by was Equatorial Guinea. Okay. Equatorial Guinea because, there's a lot of, for want of a better word, bad things that have been written about them because of the political climate. Yes. But they're doing very well. I mean, this is one of those countries where you can get about 10 kilometers of reclaimed land, where you've got beautiful beachfronts. Wow. Same for, Angola. You can get about 20 kilometers of reclaimed land, and there's flowers, the streets are clean. Look, tourism is intentional. Beautifying a city is intentional. You've got to put in deliberate efforts. So if you plant flowers by the roadside, you've got to water the flowers. Sure. In Accra, we plant the flowers, we let them die. Yeah. In Accra at night, the street lights are not on. Yeah. Meanwhile, we're charging people for, street light fee, etc. Yeah. So these countries are getting it right. Of course, if you go to the Maghreb, they are on a different world. Yeah. Morocco, very beautiful. Yeah. Algeria, beautiful. Tunis, very beautiful, etc. And these are things that sub-Saharan Africa can do as well. Because one of the saddest the things we saw throughout the visit, was how our farming communities, our towns, villages, and cities are engulfed in plastic waste. Yeah. These plastic wastes are destroying our environment. They are poisoning the land where we grow food. Yeah. And so if we want more yields, we should even be able to say that, look, we're placing a ban on single-use plastics. Yeah. If countries like Rwanda have been able to do it, I don't see why we can't, deal with it. So we've got to be up and doing. Yes. This is not to say that Ghana is not unique. Ghana is special, but we are indisciplined. One of the problems I find with my country, Ghana, is the levels of indiscipline in our own country. And if we want more tourists to come, if we want more business people to come, then we've got to instill a culture of discipline,
Right.
a culture of, good work ethics, respecting time, making sure that even look at the road rage in our country. 2,000, I say this everywhere, 2,000 Ghanaians die averagely on our roads, and we are not concerned. This is a national crisis. I mean, COVID killed less than 1,500 people. Look at the response to COVID. And you've got on average 2,000 people dying in your country. These are husbands, wives, students, breadwinners. It's as a result of indiscipline. Yes, some of the roads are bad. But if we are adhering to speed limits, we wouldn't be killing ourselves like chicken.
Absolutely.
So the building blocks, the ecosystem has to be there to encourage investment, to encourage people to come in to see our beautiful country as well.
Absolutely. I know during your tour, you visited, you met some political leaders. I monitored your interview on another network with Bernard, and then you met the Ugandan president.
We met quite a number
who you described as still very sharp when you mentioned some of the names in Ghana. Can you take 2 minutes to talk to us about that?
So first of all, you don't meet Museveni without a COVID test.
Yes.
Even till
I know. Till then, I know he still wears the mask. Yes, absolutely.
And he will sit several meters away from you. But, Uganda is a country that is also getting its act together.
Right.
And if you want to see the beauty of Uganda, you've got to go outside of the capital.
Right.
When we got to Uganda, he said that, look, I'm busy campaigning.
The capital is Entebbe.
No, the capital is Kampala.
Kampala,
but if you want to come, then you've got to meet me on my farms in Mayogi, which is about 3 hours away from Kampala. And it was a beautiful interaction.
Wow.
We were supposed to do 20 minutes. We ended up doing almost 45 minutes. And he knows Ghana inside out.
Wow.
He asked everybody where in the team where they come from, and he could tell you which president come from your region.
Wow.
When I said I was from the north, he said, my friend Hilary Man, is he still alive? Francis mentioned Eastern region. He said Akufo-Addo. Johnny mentioned Ashanti region. He said Kufuor.
Yes.
Very, very sharp.
Exactly.
I mean, and to think that with all the challenges in the region and his country, he still has a photographic memory of our country is something really exciting. And he's Pan-Africanist. He's inclined to Africans integrating, and he did make a promise, just like a lot of the leaders we met, that indeed in the next 3 years, hopefully Uganda would also become a country in Africa that would be visa-free. This is what we are pushing for.
Right.
We are saying that Africa has to open, Africa has to be visa-free by the year 2030. 2 days ago, I met President Obasanjo here in Accra.
Yes.
And before that in Addis Ababa. And he said, look, Ras, you've got to go with countries that are ready. In all probability, you wouldn't get all the countries signing up or ratifying, which I agree with him by and large. So I say to the leaders in Africa who are ready, I don't see why Ghana, which has always been the epicenter of the Pan-African movement, should be charging other African countries visas to come to our country. Because these African countries are countries we have helped liberate. They look up to us. And to ask them to, acquire visas before they can come and trade or tour as Africans, it's not something encouraging. So we should lead by example.
Right.
Countries like Ethiopia should lead by example. And then we should do what Nkrumah, Sekou Touré, and Modibo Keita did. Guinea, Ghana, Mali. When the Monrovia group was opposed to African unity, Nkrumah said, okay, who is ready? Guinea, Ghana, Mali. And way back in those days, citizens of those countries could trade amongst ourselves without the requirements of visas. So now you've got Benin in West Africa that is visa-free. You've got the Gambia that is visa-free. At least Ghana, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Liberia should also go visa-free because they've got something to showcase to the rest of Africa.
Right.
If you've got 3 more in East Africa and a couple more in Southern Africa, we should run with it.
Right.
And then we can even model it around the European Union project, even though we started talking about ours as far back as the late 50s and 60s, before the European Union project gained ground.
Sure.
But you could say, if you want to be a member of the African Union, I don't see why you shouldn't meet a certain, criteria. As a way of getting people to sit up.
Absolutely.
As a way of getting people who would be seeing the benefits of that union to actually fix their infrastructure.
Yes.
Because if you travel around the African continent, whether it's by land or by, port, there's a huge infrastructure deficit.
Huge
And-
infrastructure deficit.
and that
Let's go to
will-
Tema. Honorable, let's go to Tema and come. I
Okay.
understand we have Christian Tete on the line. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Chief.
Yes. Please
Yes,
shoot.
I want to commend Mr. Ras Mubarak. My name is Christian Tete, actually.
Yes, sure.
I've been following the program so far, and I
Right.
want to commend my boss, Mr.
Yes.
Ras Mubarak, for his advocacy
Right,
and also his good work across the continent.
right.
We have been following so much, and we are so much interested in what he's doing.
Mm.
And we, the youth too, we are capitalized on his advocacy, his consistent education,
Right.
to program ourselves to take advantage of the opportunities that are available.
Absolutely.
So I will commend him for a yeoman's work, and we, the youth, are solidly behind him.
Awesome.
And we are trying so hard to also create and position ourselves to take advantage of any opportunity that will be coming.
Great.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, Christian. Yes, so that's a plus to you. Infrastructure, just a quick one, and then we'll take the messages and wrap up.
We've got to fix the infrastructure.
Right.
It is only through, enhanced infrastructure
Right.
that would make it easier for the plantain farmer somewhere in Ghana to be able to bring their goods to Accra without the plantain getting rotten along the way.
Sure.
Or the tomato farmer
Yeah.
somewhere up north in Palugu
Sure.
to be able to bring their goods to Accra,
Accra.
without the tomatoes getting rotten. So
Yeah.
that has to be fixed.
Absolutely.
But we need to deal with a major headache.
Mm.
I mean, one of the major headaches is that to transport goods by sea,
Yeah.
because you are from, Tema Harbour,
Yeah.
and this is Iron Port.
Yes.
I mean, you are told the goods have to even go outside of the continent of Africa.
Before it comes to Accra.
Before it comes to
Absolutely,
Africa.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, how can we move forward?
Yeah.
Recently, we had a project going on in Liberia, private projects, and wanted to send some goods in Liberia. We were told the goods would have to go to Amsterdam.
Yeah. Wow.
And look at the distance between
yeah, sure,
Ghana
yeah.
and
Yeah,
Liberia.
Liberia, yeah.
So African leaders, we beg of you,
Yeah.
sit up, make it easier
To be feeder vessels, yeah. So
for
that-
people
yeah,
to move and to
absolutely.
trade and
Yeah.
to enjoy what God has bestowed on us.
Absolutely. Right. Let's do some messages now. Yebua in Keta says, Visa-free Africa sounds good, but will our security systems be strong enough to handle it?
If Rwanda is doing it,
Yeah.
a country that has been through war,
Yeah.
a country that shares border with Congo,
Burundi, yeah.
DRC,
Yes.
and Burundi,
Yeah.
I don't see why we can't do it. So
Absolutely.
we should ask the Rwandans, how are they able to do it?
Okay.
You enter Rwanda and the systems know that you are in Rwanda. You overstay, the systems will find you
Flags
out.
you out. Wow. All right. Bridget in Accra says, as a small business owner, travel restrictions make sourcing goods in Africa more expensive than importing from Europe. I think we've mentioned it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, okay, I understand we have Rashid from Kaswa. Let's pick Rashid and then conclude with the messages. Sir Rash, good evening, sir. Hello? Okay, I understand he's off. Yeah. To Ras Mubarak, that's Menu from Kumasi. What was the most difficult border crossing you experienced during your 31-country tour?
Certainly, Cameroon was one.
You mentioned, yes.
Because of the harassment. And then crossing into Zambia from Tanzania was also another.
Wow.
We spent 5 hours at the border
Wow.
because the system was down.
Wow.
And even between Uganda and Kenya, which was surprising to me, because with Kenya's ICT and
Yeah.
openness, you would expect that, they will be high up there. But unfortunately, we did about 3 hours at the Busia border, that's what they call it, between Kenya and Uganda.
Right.
So it looks like the governments in Africa pay a lot more attention to the borders at the airports.
Yes. And not the land borders.
And not the land borders. So
Okay.
this is something that
Right.
we have to fix as well.
All right, I understand Rashid is back. Good afternoon, sir. Was it good evening? Yes. Good evening,
Yeah,
sir.
Good evening, sir.
Awesome. Please shoot.
Please, I guess I came across your show right now, and I think the man with the, I think, Sakura story, I like how he's talking.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
I used to have a lot of hair like Reverend.
Yes, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
I couldn't see your name on the television. That's why I can't pronounce your name.
It's Honorable Ras Mubarak.
Honorable Ras Mubarak, thank you.
Yes.
I think what you were saying about we start with the ones that are ready. Yeah, I think that point is very, very good, and it sounds very good for me.
Right.
We youths have been waiting for a long time to see Africa unite as one, so we can be free going through in out Africa. It shouldn't be like we are living on the same continent and then we should get visa before we can travel to our neighbor continent. That shouldn't be possible. So,
right. Thank you very much, Sir Rash. We're deeply grateful to you for your call. And then Abi in Tema, Accra, Abi Temi in Accra says, do you think a visa-free Africa could encourage more youth to explore opportunities within the continent instead of migrating?
Absolutely.
Europe,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that is a very good question that needs a lot of other elements. So free movement of people is a critical aspect.
Right.
But to be very competitive, employable, and reside, you need more than just the ability to have a visa, right? So the skills, the kind of opportunities that exist that need people to move to do. There are certain areas or certain locations in Africa where people need certain skills, certain capabilities. And so based on the question, I would suggest that the youth who are looking to explore continental opportunities should build knowledge base, skills, and certain capacities in order to be able to take advantage of them.
Thank you very much indeed. So, gentlemen, I'll take your last words, just a minute each, and then we wrap up. Beginning with you, Honorable Ras Mubarak.
Well, this is the only continent we have.
Yes.
No one is going to come from anywhere to make it better for all of us. And all of us would have to be citizens. And being citizens means being responsible, keeping the environment clean, making sure that we're not littering is very, very important. We're destroying the ecosystem currently. We can't get a lot of yields from our farms because of the plastics. And the politicians would have to walk the talk, walk the talk, and make sure that the protocols we have signed up to are ratified to make it easier for our people to be able to move. Africans have been calling for this for a long time. And I'll say finally that African leaders who rise to the occasion would be remembered kindly in history.
Absolutely. Amen. Let's come to Reverend Odisedu.
Yes, so I would say that Africa is a big opportunity.
Yes.
We have several capabilities in our people, in skills, in specific technologies. For example, we are and have become one of the continents that has expanded and utilized mobile money payments than any other continent because of certain specific challenges or trying to take advantage of certain specific needs. So based on that, I think we need to enhance and facilitate free movement of people. We need to enhance and facilitate free movement of capital. We are doing it on the good side, but we're not doing it especially on the people and on the capital side. Having payments done, having people moving is still a challenge. I also think that we also need to look at free movement of data. Maybe one day we need to look at that because cross-border data exchange is very necessary as we try to integrate. For payments to go through, we need to share details with other financial institutions. As we said, a lot of that is being done through institutions outside of the continent, and that in itself affects our sovereignty and stability. But having said that, I think that the opportunities that Africa has needs a lot more skilled people, a lot more knowledgeable people. I think if you look at, I think it was a question I was going to address, how people move of sectors that will benefit. Tourism, transport, financial sector, business services. There are emerging sectors that are very much keen and open to receive a lot of, movement of people. And those sectors, sometimes there's more flexibility on countries receiving such people. So when we talk about free movement, what people are interested in now is that we should look at legitimate, movement of people. So people who are not economic migrants, who are not looking to take advantage of other people's systems, but people whose skill set and capabilities are needed. And nobody should be offended with that because even the other developed countries, that's what they look at. They only invite and accept people who have certain skills. I'll pause here.
Awesome. Thank you very much indeed. That's the Reverend Odisedu, who is the CEO Africa Trade Academy. And indeed, with us in the studios has been the Honorable Ras Mubarak, who is the lead campaigner, Trans-Africa Tourism and Unity Campaign. Indeed, he's been the MP for Kumbungu before and the CEO of National Youth Authority of the Republic of Ghana. We thank you so much, Honorable. You are fasting, but you were gracious enough to oblige us. We're deeply grateful. We thank you so much for that. And thank you so much, Reverend Odisedu. Viewers, remember, we've been taking a look at the Clamour for a visa-free Africa and whether that's the panacea to increased economic prosperity and indeed increased trade in Africa. You've heard our guests. We want to say a big thanks to our sponsors, Ghana Revenue Authority, GWEL PLC, Serene Insurance, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, MPS, and indeed Phoenix Insurance. Remember, the show is powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, GPHA. We entreat you to watch the abridged version of I Am Port on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. on Ghana Television. And God willing, next week we shall bounce back with another wonderful edition of your favorite I Am Port program. The name is Kennedy Mona. We wish you a blessed and super week ahead. And God willing, like I said, we'll meet again next week. God bless, no less. We're out.